Sagafi, Liberty Home Mortgage here. What are we talking about today? The different types of mortgage fraud. You do not want to get involved in mortgage fraud. Mortgage fraud is a serious crime. It's a serious problem too. So a lot of that existed back in the early 2000s. That was the subprime crisis, the mortgage meltdown. These are the circumstances and the situations that you see mortgage fraud occurring. You see it in markets where houses are selling super fast, houses are selling for well over value. There's a lot of competition to buy the home. So these are all reasons why you gotta start watching and why we as a mortgage lender pay even closer attention to these types of situations. When you have a house for sale and you have multiple offers on the house, you have 10 different buyers offering. Well, soon as 10 different people want the house, the truth of the matter is they'll almost damn near do anything to get the house. And a lot of that includes fraud, unfortunately, and even worse than that, a lot includes people doing things that they don't even know is fraudulent, but they're being guided or directed by somebody else. So this video that I'm doing now is to help you down the road or the path of don't commit mortgage fraud. Let's go with this one first. 1 out of every 126 applications for a purchase were fraudulent. Now listen to this one. 1 out of every 164 mortgage applications, 1 out of every 200 refinance applications contain some sort of fraud. 1 out of 28 investment property purchase applications contain fraud. So that means for every 28 investors that come along and say, Hesh, I want to apply for financing, out of every 28 that come along, 1 of them is going to provide fraudulent documentation. Why in the world would investor applications have so much more fraud occurring in them? Simple. They have a gigantic financial incentive. A lot of people, when they're buying a home, they're buying their first home or even their 10th home, and they're moving into it. Their incentive is they want a home. They want a place for their family. Their mindset is not, I'm going to make $80,000 the easy way and then do God knows what with it. I'm going to go buy a Lamborghini and do some stupid video on Instagram or something like that. This garbage that's all out there showing. When it's an investor, they have a huge financial interest in making the loan work because their belief is if I could leverage this bank's money to buy this house, I can then do something with this house and sell it for a lot more money. This is the thinking that goes behind it. Let's go with the simple type of fraud that happens that people don't so much realize they do, but they do a little bit. It's called occupancy fraud. Occupancy fraud is a big deal in the mortgage industry across the United States. Let me give you an example. If you call me on the phone right now and say, Hesh, I'm buying a home and I'm not moving into it and I'm gonna buy it for a rental property or whatever, okay? So if you're not moving into the property, let me tell you the general criteria. You need perfect credit, you need 20% down, you need to have all of your financial, your debt ratio has to be low, there could be no gift money or anything like that, and the interest rate's 8. So on investment properties, when you're not moving in, the rate is higher, down payment is more, the credit requirements are higher, everything's tougher, okay? Let's go with owner occupied. You say, Hesh, I'm moving into the house. I'm not gonna rent it out, I'm gonna move into it, okay? Down payment, hell, we can go with 0 down loans, no money down, okay? You can go FHA 3.5% down payment assistance, whatever, okay? You don't need perfect credit. You can have a score as low as 500 to go FHA, for God's sakes. You don't need to have, your debt ratios could be higher. So as an owner occupant, the guidelines are way easier than as an investor on a loan. So what happens? How is occupancy fraud a major problem in the mortgage industry? Simple. I'll talk to somebody who calls in that wants to buy an investment property. I say, hey, 20% down, perfect credit. You guys show this and that and the other. I say, Hesh, holy cow, I don't have 20% down. I only have 5% down. And maybe I'll say, okay, if you're moving into the property, I can do it with 5% down. But you're not moving in, it's 20% down. You know what the first thing they say is? Hell with it, I'll just say I'm moving in.
Hand to God.
But you know what I say? Because I've done this for 23 years and I got some decent experience. I say, no, unfortunately, you're not moving into it. Let's just say what the truth is. You're not moving in. So we're not gonna say you are just to accommodate you with a lower down payment, okay? So that's a big deal. Now, if you're watching me and you're a buyer thinking, screw it, I'm not gonna call him. Well, here's the truth. If you're gonna lie, good, don't call me. I don't want to. Go to the other people that are out there doing this. The loan officers who are out there who are furthering it and promoting it. And now they're not promoting it online. Hey, everybody call me and I'm gonna lie on the application. But they know what they're doing on it. They're just garbage. They're part of the reason this whole industry crumbled to crap. So at the end of the day, occupancy fraud. If you're moving in, say you're moving in. If you're not moving in, you're not moving in. If you have to come up with more money, raise your credit scores, and you can't buy it and become the next real estate mogul in the next 6 weeks or something like that, too bad. Go back home, work on whatever the issues are, and then come back to the table. Occupancy fraud is a huge, huge problem in my industry. Let's go over other types of fraud. There's fraud with assets, okay? What is fraud with assets? I've got my notes down around me here. I should have brought up some of my files actually. We just received this from HUD. HUD insures, or HUD oversees the FHA actually, and FHA insures mortgage loans. We just had this happen last September actually, and we just received the file back last week where the customer fraudulently doctored up their bank statements. Part of giving a mortgage loan is determining, I need to see how much money you have in the bank. Well, there are people out there who will use PDF programs and things like that to manipulate and change bank statements, and they'll provide those bank statements to show us that there's money in the bank account when in fact there's not. We do things to double check and monitor bank accounts, but it's not as in-depth today as it could be. I'll tell you this one, it's a lot deeper than it was 20 years ago. It's a lot better, but it's still very far from it. I think inside of the next 20 to 30 years, I think we might just get rid of the consumer providing documents altogether. But today there's a lot of programs we could use, and we do use them, but there's times that we don't use them or we can't use them for whatever reason. So fraud with assets, manipulating your bank statements and your assets. If you're talking to a lender out there who's telling you, I can take care of the assets, I'll take care of the bank statements, run as fast as you can. Now again, if you don't qualify, you don't qualify. So maybe somebody telling you that they're gonna give you fake bank statements or something, you say, screw it, whatever it takes to get me into this house. Fraud is bad. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. It's something you wanna watch.
Is that right?
Let's go over fraud with employment. Employment fraud's a big deal. We received another file back from HUD actually a couple of weeks ago where the borrower created W-2s when in fact they were not a W-2 employee. Just from a timing standpoint, it was during COVID. We could not pull transcripts from the IRS. The previous employer was not giving us the information we wanted. Not all employers work with us on this stuff. And that borrower actually fabricated all of their W-2s from that job. That's fraud with employment. We've had borrowers give fraudulent numbers to verify employment at. So dealing with employment and income documents, doctoring up their pay stubs, just so we can calculate our debt ratios differently. If you're talking to anybody who's doing anything like that, run as fast as you can. If you suspect a loan officer is changing your income on your pay stubs, and today this stuff is not hard at all. It's easy to do. That's fraud with employment. Fraud with income, that was also property flipping schemes. Be aware when you're buying a property from an investor who's flipping the house, for God's sakes, please take a look at what they did. Do you know how many investment properties I see that it's not illegal to buy a house for $80,000 and sell it for $200,000 and slap a coat of paint on it? That's not illegal, but for God's sakes, take a look at what you're buying. Make sure the rehab job is actually a legitimate rehab job. There's a lot of good investors out there. There's a lot of good rehabbers out there, but there's a hell of a lot more garbage investors and a hell of a lot more garbage rehabbers out there who don't know the first thing about not pounding a nail into a wall, for God's sakes. I'm horrible at doing it, but at least I know how to pound them into things. It might not be the right thing if it's the wrong wall or wrong stud or something like that, but at least have an idea of it, okay? When it comes to property flipping, pay attention to the house, the disclosures. A lot of investors don't disclose everything properly. This is stuff you want to pay attention to. When it comes down to fraud across the board, it occurs in this industry. Pay attention to it. Know what to look for, especially if you're a real estate agent or a loan officer. Pay attention to the documents and everything being involved in the transaction. If it feels wrong, it's probably wrong. Keep following my videos. We'll check out other fraud schemes and other things and other videos along with a lot of other topics I do. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And if you have any comments or questions, put the comments down below and we'll be following up when we see you on the next video. Thanks so much.